Hey guys, Tisha here, and we are back with another 1,000 Pound Sisters review. Pardon me if I jump all over the place, but this episode was kind of all over the place, so let's just go with the flow. So, it's been 4 weeks since Amy left Michael, and we know that he's already at this point filed for divorce. So she is on her way with court to discuss the kids. She says even though she wanted the divorce, she did want Michael to fight for her, but she knows that this separation is what's best for her and the boys, and at this point, there's no going back. I really need for Amy to be done with this situation, and part of me feels like I wish, even though it makes for good television, that she didn't do this on TV, because it's clear that there's a lot going on and it's hard to decipher what's postpartum, what's her being overly dramatic, and what's her really being torn about the state of her life currently. So as they arrive, we see Amanda at the courthouse, and it has been a week since her surgery, yet she's there to support her sister. Amanda is a writer. We find out that Michael wants for there to be 50-50 custody, and she wants to have just a little custody. She doesn't want him to have 50-50, but she doesn't want to take it away, because she says that she doesn't want it to be like how it was, where they're not getting interactions with their father, because she never had that dynamic. She says that currently she has full custody and he has visitation on weekends. I'm not quite sure how this works. Maybe it was established beforehand. I'm a little confused. I don't know how it works in marriage, but I know in my state, no one has custody unless someone claims it. So unless I were to go and file, I technically would not have custody of my son. The state that I live in does. It's weird. I don't know how it works for marriages in this instance, but according to her, she has predominant custody as of right now. She says Michael doesn't take care of them. Only his mom does. So she doesn't quite understand it, but she's going to see what happens. So they go into court. We don't see what happens. They come back out, and Amanda, Chris, and Amy discuss what went on. Apparently, she says that she went through a lot of emotions while being in the courtroom, from anger to sadness to her crying to her getting upset again. Amanda tells her that is natural. She comes back out saying that she didn't even look at him, that she experienced all types of emotions, and she just can't believe that he wants to get 50-50 custody. She said that she couldn't believe that he got on the stand and lied the way that he did, and said things like how he's an equal parent. And she said how he said that he gives baths and stuff like that, that she turned back and looked at her siblings and she saw their mouth drop. Now, I don't know. Amy always tells us that she's blind, but how blind how blind is Amy that Amy could see from where she was sitting that her family's mouth dropped at what he was saying? But this is what we're going with. So their mouths drop, and she said that he said he takes baths and he doesn't even know what temperature the water is. This one likes it hot like him. This one likes it like that. And she's the cook and the chef and all these other things. And I'ma just be quiet, because at this point, I don't feel like Amy's telling the full story. Now, Michael, I said while I was taking my notes that I wish he would come up here, but we find out later on that Michael was given the opportunity to speak, and Michael chose not to. I don't know if it's because Michael isn't getting paid to do it, or if it's just because Michael no longer really wants to have anything to do with Amy or this show. So Amanda says she doesn't understand why he wants 50-50 custody, when if he does get 50-50 custody, his mom is going to be the predominant one taking care of the kids. And I think part of the reason why he may want 50-50 custody is because he may feel like maybe that's a way to ensure that he doesn't have to pay a certain amount of child support, or that he can even maybe get spousal support along with the child support. You just never know what people's intentions are nowadays. So Chris said 90% of what he said on the stand were lies. And then they start joking because Amy's like, he was lying through his teeth. And she says, well, he doesn't really have any teeth. And Chris says, you're going to see him on a dating profile and he's going to be toothless and bald. Amy says that her son has more teeth than he does, and they're laughing back and forth about this. But I'm looking at Amy like, okay, you're no prize either. You're joking this man's teeth. Meanwhile, your teeth are the color of butter. And I don't mean no harm for those of us who have, because my teeth aren't that white either. They've shifted in everything. I now have gaps that I never had before. But don't sit there and talk about people like you don't have your own imperfections. Not only that, you married the toothless man and you slept with him. So you're sitting there cracking jokes about it, but what does that say about you? Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I don't like the mean, like, let's go ahead and poke fun at him now when we've always seen that Michael look like, something else was off there. So she tells us that she's going to go back to court in a month because the lawyers couldn't come to any agreement. We then see Tammy, who's cleaning up her house and vacuuming. She says that she enjoys having the kids around because it's helping her cope. We see them sit down, her and Amy, doing a YouTube video, and Amy talked about how she had all these different cravings while she was pregnant, and one of the things that she was looking for was a garlic candle, and she couldn't find a garlic candle, so she's going to make a garlic, onion, and bacon scented candle. Amy sautés onions and stuff on the stove. As she moves around to put the onions in whatever container they want to, she forgets that the pot is hot and burns the plastic onto the pot, onto the tablecloth. We see Tammy's mobility is getting better. She says that she has 100 more pounds to lose, but she's looking forward to doing all the things that her and Caleb are talking about and have talked about, along with the fact that she wants to have kids. We see her call him. She feels like something's going on because they haven't been talking as much, that they've just been texting here and there, and that she feels like he's hiding something. She knows that he's still struggling with eating, but she thinks it's more than that. We see her FaceTime him. He's on the phone and he talks about how, he's doing better. At least he's no longer in the hospital. So he tells Tammy that he was in the hospital for 6 days because his CO2 levels went up and they thought that he may have had some type of infection or pneumonia. And Tammy explains how with the trach, this is something that could be common because bacteria and stuff gets out of there. And the fact that he had some of the scares that he's had over the years with the trach, and how he told us at one point that Tammy saved him when he was choking, with the trach, that alone would probably scare me into wanting doing something more. But Caleb truly has a problem that was beyond Tammy's capabilities of fixing. So Tammy says that they haven't really been having real conversations at this point because all he wants to do is compliment her and say that he loves her, and that's because it's a way that he can deflect. He tells her that he wants to see her, that he felt stronger with her being there, and she tells him that she's going to see if she can get Chris to take her, and he's excited about this. I know he's deceased at this point, but I'm going to call it like I see it. And I think a lot of times Caleb was very selfish. I think he had certain demands of Tammy that just weren't fair, and I think he put a lot on Tammy. Like you made her your sole motivation to getting better when he should have made it a thing where he wanted to do it for herself. So he already knows that Tammy has a lot on her plate. But he's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's eating incorrectly and he's not taking care of himself. He should not be an addition to her problems. It's also not fair that Chris has to keep lugging around his sisters everywhere. Because at this point, if he ain't lugging around Tammy, he's lugging around Amy, or he's lugging around Amanda and Misty. Well, no, let me take them off the thing because that was for surgery. I want Caleb, which doesn't make sense for me to say this. I was hoping that Caleb would get his act together and that he would be motivated just in seeing what was going on with his wife, but that didn't happen. So we see Chris and his wife. They got a chicken coop. Supposedly, because it's not a chicken coop. We later on find out that it's a place for rabbits. He's trying to find healthier food options. So his idea was to get a chicken coop. He says that they eat roughly over 80 eggs a week. And I want to know how many people are living in his house that you're eating that many eggs a week. I mean, he doesn't have but 4 chickens. So how many eggs does he think that they're going to lay? The most I've seen a chicken lay is 2 eggs. Y'all let me know what y'all seen, but anyway, so Misty pulls up, looks at the coop and says, that's not a coop, that's a rabbit hut. He said, well, I had to get something cute that Brittany would approve of. It's only been a week and a half since the surgery, and Misty lets us know that she is off of her medications and insulin, and that is great. The fact that that surgery already has done that for her is amazing. We see the chickens running around. They're big chickens too, even into the street because they don't have any type of fence in. And I'm sitting there looking at this coop and the fact that you have these 4 big chickens and wondering how all 4 of them are supposed to fit in the coop. They talk about the hearing. Misty says that her divorce dragged out for a year because they were fighting over the kids, and she really doesn't want that for Amy. They talk about how hard it's going to be for her because of how easily Amy gets wound up about things. And Chris brings up a good point by saying that Amy is going to have to get to the place where she takes care of herself and she kind of puts herself first, because she's going to have to be able to weather the storm. That's the end of that. We then see Tammy, who I feel like is playing around with us. It had to be a joke about this OBGYN visit. I know she looked a little disappointed towards the end when she found out her news, but I was like, there's no way. So she hasn't seen an OBGYN since 2011. She says that before the surgery, she did not want kids, but now that she knows that it's a possibility, it's definitely something that she wants. We see her get on the scale, and Tammy is now 374.6 pounds. Go Tammy. When I say that whenever I see Tammy win, I get so excited for her, especially seeing how far that woman has come. I am cheering Tammy on. I think a lot of us are cheering Tammy on because we want to see her do well. Now, she says that she hasn't been this size since the days when she was in middle school. Amy has asked to get on the scale, and Amy says, no, I'm good. Amy claims that she hasn't been able to eat certain things. Remember, that's what we were told in last episode, that she hasn't had an appetite and all those things. So I would think that she would want to get on the scale, but she doesn't want to get on the scale because Amy isn't doing the things that she's supposed to. She wants no part of the scale. I'm talking about to the point where she looks like she's annoyed with the doctor for even thinking about asking her to do it. She says, I'm not here for that. I'm here for Tammy. Interesting how she can say so much when it comes to Tammy and what Tammy does, but Amy doesn't ever like to take accountability for herself. So Tammy goes in, says that she wants to see if she's capable of having babies. She had an IUD put in around 12 years ago, supposed to be out in 2016, and she wasn't able to go back and get it out because of her size. The doctor said it was in a position where it would be hard for them to get to it because of how large she was. So the doctor says that if she is definitely trying to have a baby, they definitely need to get that out because it could be a problem if she becomes pregnant. She's not currently sexually active, but apparently Tammy has been. She then tells us that she might already be pregnant. And I said, who? I say, who? Who is the father? Because later on in the episode, we see Caleb standing up just to weigh himself, and he can't even do that without losing his breath or shaking. So how did he do? How did he do it? How did he do it? How did she do it? Tammy says she thinks she's pregnant because she's craving things like water. Tammy's craving things like water. When I was pregnant, I craved pickles with pickle juice. I would drink the pickle juice straight out the jar. It had to be extra cold. And Cold Stone ice cream, chocolate with chocolate Oreos. And I'm allergic to chocolate. So that just, yeah. Anyways, that was what I craved. So her saying that she craved water took me out. Amy says she ain't pregnant. She's just thirsty. Okay. They schedule for her for an ultrasound to take out the IUD. The doctor tells her that there's no way she could be pregnant right now because she doesn't even remember the last time that she had her last period, and she's going to have to wake those ovaries back up. So We then see Tammy on her way to see her non-compliant husband. Chris is taking her to see Caleb. Tammy says she knows about the ups and downs of food addiction, and she knows that Caleb is not being honest with her. Chris says the best way for you to see what's going on is to see him and to hold him accountable, but try to be as level-headed and calm as you can possibly be, because it's going to be a hard conversation for the both of you to have. Despite whatever amount of time Tammy has known Caleb and she's been married to them, one thing I can say about her family is they have supported her when it's come to her relationship with Caleb. So Tammy says she's nervous to see him because it's been almost 2 months and her body isn't the same. And Chris jokes and says, so you can back it up on him easier. And I'm just like, my Lord, like... the image of that and seeing Caleb. And anyway, so he comes down the hall with flowers and immediately starts with the lines as well as telling her he misses her and loves her. I was surprised that Tammy didn't get out of her wheelchair and lean over and kiss him or anything. It was an interaction like she was seeing somebody that she hasn't seen for a very, very long time. But it wasn't an embrace that I thought she would have given her husband. Made me feel a little uncomfortable, if I'm being honest. I didn't see the love there. So he gives her all these compliments about missing her and bringing her, her being there is bringing the party to the room. And she just looks like she's uncomfortable. And I don't know if it's because she knows that she wants to say a lot and she's trying to think about how she's going to say it or what. But they didn't have like that warm of a welcoming. I'm looking at the two of them sitting beside each other and I'm seeing him sitting in the chair and I just don't see how Tammy is sitting there saying that she thought she was pregnant, because like his stomach is just, I know things could happen, but that's just a little, anyway, I got to get off of that. Anyways, he tells her how good she looks. He goes to weigh himself, on the scale per his suggestion. 6 weeks ago, he was 537 pounds. He gets on the scale, struggles while doing so, and we find out he is 524.6. So he lost 12 pounds. He says he knows that it's because of lack of discipline, but they're halfway there to the goal. And he says, we got this. And Tammy says, you got this. You have to do this for you. And she's right. She says she's proud of him, but it's still concerning. She wants to know what's going on with him because he's not being dedicated and he's not motivated. They go in the room. She looks over. She sees all these snacks on the counter. I'm talking about Oreos and different types of chips and cakes and all of that stuff. And it bothers her that he's not doing his part. And I was like, she shouldn't have to be this worried about what he is doing. So, my notes are out of order. Yep. Okay. I'm back to Amy. It's been 6 weeks since Amy has left Michael. She only left with the Pampers and the clothes on her back. Tammy went out and brought them clothing and things like that. Amy had her debit card with her. So the fact that Amy wasn't buying these things for herself and Tammy did it just makes me feel like, Amy, what are we doing? If she was scared of Michael at the time, she could have easily asked an officer to please come and meet her at the home so she could retrieve additional things, and they would have escorted her and done so. So I don't know why she didn't just do that. I really want Amy to stop taking advantage of Tammy and the other family members and learn to stand up on her own 2 feet. So we find out that Michael isn't even there, that he moved in with his mom, so no one's at the house. I wonder how long ago Michael moved in with his mom. Amy said she didn't want to go to the house by herself because she's afraid of what will happen and all the memories that she will feel. So she notices that he took down all their pictures. At least those pictures were still there and they weren't thrown out, because I've seen mine ripped up and thrown out. So the fact that she still has them, that's a good thing. She said that it's triggering for her to be there. She opens the closet in her room and she begins to cry because she sees the garment bag for her wedding dress. I don't know how I feel about this scene, and I'm going to tell y'all why. And some of y'all may disagree with me. You can put it down in the comment section, but does Amy look like she wears clothes that are hung up? Seriously. She said she was going to get some clothes. You got the kids' clothes that were supposed to be for a vacation that you were supposed to go thrown across I don't know, the top of some counter or something. You got clothes on the couch, a pile of clothes here. In the room, there's a pile of clothes there. You want me to believe that you hang up stuff in your closet all the time? I don't think so. Amy very much so looks like somebody who just throws things all over the floor. And I doubt that the wedding dress is just front and center, because they didn't bring the camera all the way in the room to Amy. They just showed her standing there with the door open. So I don't quite know how I feel about that scene. She cries because she sees the garment bag for her wedding dress. She brings it out to the girls and says she doesn't want it anymore. I told you I don't know how to respond to this, because I don't know if this is the depression, if this is true sadness, if this is just, I don't know what this is. So she said that she's trying to keep things together for her kids, but inside she's broken. She hopes she can move back in the house, but right now all she sees is that day playing in her head. And I don't mean any harm, but I've had way worse happen to me than what happened to Amy on that day. Amy needs to go back and reclaim her home. Her and Michael, I don't even think they lived there for 2 years, maybe for a year and a half, because we know that right when Tammy was gone for a year, they moved into that house shortly before Tammy left. So maybe a year and a half, 2 years tops. You can create new memories, revamp the place and make it look completely differently, which is part of the reason why her sisters were suggesting for her to like change this and change that and change the curtains and whatever else. Like, you can make that place your own. Amanda then kind of agrees with what I'm saying as far as she needs to go ahead and move on. And Amanda says it's time for her to get unstuck and reclaim that house as her home for herself and the boys. Get rid of certain things and make new memories. So back to Caleb. I told you they went in the room, they saw the cakes and the candies and the cookies. He said he knew that she wouldn't be happy seeing it, but he laughed it out on purpose so she could say that he wasn't hiding stuff. It was out in the open because if he didn't have nowhere else to hide it, where else could he reach it? Like, let's be clear. This man is not getting up out of his chair on several occasions and trying to walk and trying to be mobile. He spends a lot of time in his wheeling chair, and he's not doing the necessary work that he needs to do. You kept it there because you only have limited places to put things. I'm not down with this. I don't like how we're sitting here and we're watching this, knowing that he's not going to make it. It feels very morbid and it makes me uncomfortable. And I get really irritated with him trying to sit there and try to say that he lost his motivation when Tammy left and Tammy motivated him and she made it easier on him and he just doesn't feel the same without her there. That's not her problem. He should have done what he had to do so he can get out. You can't complain about her not being there when she's saying that she calls you and you're not picking up the phone and things of that nature. And then he goes back to saying he doesn't want to stress her out. What does he think not answering the phone does to her when she's calling him? You guys are currently in a long distance relationship. The only thing that you have in a long distance relationship is communication, and you're giving half of it. So even though he says he's not trying to burden her, he's burdening her. She wants him to be motivated, and she wants to also help be his motivation as well as solve his problems. But that's not her job. Bottom line is she wants him to be better, and he's going to keep making excuses. He said he's afraid she's going to walk back out that door because it's only so much you can push somebody to their limit. He brings up how his weight has always been a problem with relationships and friendships and how people are only willing to deal with it for a certain amount of time. Tammy married him. So all of this woe is me thing at this point, it's not working for me. It's not fair. I don't like it. And it just, I don't even want to see the Caleb portion of this. I don't. Because it makes me feel uncomfortable because we know the situation. And I really, really want to go in about him and fuss a lot about what he's doing and he's not doing. But I just don't feel that right doing it, knowing that he's no longer here. If anything, this is motivating me. I said I was going to get back in the gym. I only went like twice this week. And by this week, I mean in 7 days. So maybe I need to be more like Tammy and get on to doing what I have to do and not be like Caleb making excuses. You all, please let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Like the video. If you have not done so yet, subscribe. And for those of you who haven't noticed, we're officially at 1,000 subscribers. I'm so excited. Thank you for all of you who have subscribed, who have watched, who have shared the video. It means so much to me. Until next time.